Thank you for listening and supporting the Daily Memphian. Sign up for one of our many free newsletters and breaking news alerts at dailymemphian.com/email to receive the latest local news stories impacting our community. Our weekly newsletters cover everything from sports to arts and culture, business, food, and more, along with daily updates of all the news we publish each day. Sign up or manage your email preferences at dailymemphian.com/email.
Welcome to On the Record, a new podcast for the new year. I'm Bill Dries, welcoming you to the first edition of this Daily Memphian podcast that focuses on my daily reporting on government and politics and a few other things that come up in the course of our daily coverage. This first edition is a short sketch of what to expect from this podcast and in the year ahead. This is the successor to our politics podcast that many of you subscribe to and still subscribe to. If you are subscribed to the politics podcast, you are subscribed to this On the Record. And the old editions of that podcast are still available to look up what our guests said originally if you want or feel so compelled. But back to the subject at hand. The interviews you will hear are, as always, part of our daily reporting in the Daily Memphian. That means it is more than a weekly change of topics and guests. It could be daily. It could be 3 to 4 interviews a week. The interviews are meant to be current and work with the stories you read in the Daily Memphian. The questions are looking for the elements of a story, but the interviews also strive to look beyond what is happening at the moment. So we'll be looking for and bringing up context from the past and a suggestion of what might be ahead. In other words, the local context the Daily Memphian does best. It will usually be one of several voices from a story, maybe 2 or even 3, depending on how we can round up those voices and quickly get them in front of our microphones. And as we have done with the WKNO program Behind the Headlines, you can expect the interviews to make news in and of themselves and generate reaction. Sometimes the interviews will be the reaction. As we have done with Behind the Headlines, On the Record is also part of a larger story. You will read the quotes in the story, and within the story, you can hear the interview itself in full for yourself and make your own decision about what's important and what is relevant. The interviews on government and politics also work with other features in the Daily Memphian's coverage of both that you won't find anyplace else. That includes our city council and county commission scorecards that break down key votes and decisions by both bodies. It also includes our indispensable live Twitter coverage of meetings of both bodies at BDriesDM that has been the standard for years now in finding out what is happening as both bodies meet. We track what the city's representatives in Washington, D.C. do, as well as cover the Tennessee legislature on the ground in Nashville during sessions, special and regular. That includes the 3 special sessions last year. So now to 2022. Because politics is more than an election on the horizon, you've probably read our coverage of the city's politics and missed that 2021 was a year without any elections in Shelby County, local, state, or federal. The first year there has not at least been some kind of special election on the ballot somewhere in Shelby County in more than 20 years. Well, 2022 is an election year, local, state, and federal. In fact, as we record this, candidates in the May County primaries have begun pulling and filing qualifying petitions for the partisan county offices that kick off the election year. That is the formal part of running. If you've kept up with our political coverage, you know a lot of 2022 candidates are already out there campaigning, some even preparing for a run in the city elections in 2023. Political coverage is not something that cranks up as early voting is about to start and that you take down after the votes are counted. And running for office and holding office are 2 very different pursuits, but the people who win and take the oath of office and serve are the same folks. So our coverage follows them from the campaign to office and even beyond that to ground our coverage in what's different, what is the same, and what is still forming. We don't separate the drive to get elected to office from holding the office. Our Ballot Basics features will once again walk you step by step through the political process, from the ins and outs of early voting, finding your new county commission or state house or state senate district, even your new congressional district, if the changes and the current redistricting process underway in Nashville play out like we think they will. And the 2022 elections will put those new district maps into play on all of those fronts. Now, if you've been following our coverage on the county commission's redistricting, you know how closely we watch how this is done. We're doing the same in the state capitol, where partisans, Democratic and Republican, expect the Shelby County delegation will lose one of its 14 state house seats in the process. Some city council members are likely to run for county offices starting in May, and if they win, that means they have a decision to make about when to leave the council with at least a year left in their 4-year terms of office. Will they resign in time to hold special elections for the council seat, or will they hold the council seat until the last minute and leave it to their fellow council members to appoint someone likely to run for a full term in 2023? Other races coming your way and our way in 2022, August state and federal primaries are on the same ballot with the county general elections, and those primaries feature statewide races for governor, as well as the 2 U.S. House seats that include Shelby County within their boundaries. But the August ballot is also known as the Big Ballot, the longest ballot with the most offices of any election cycle in Shelby County politics, because of the once every 8-year nonpartisan judicial races on that ballot. Our coverage of those races and others is already underway, along with the issues that make all of these decisions by voters important and more than a political horse race. The November ballot is all state and federal general elections deciding the races for governor and U.S. House. Taken nationally, these are the midterm elections of congressional representatives. It determines whether Democrats keep majorities in the House and Senate in Washington, or Republicans take back the majorities, or whether we have Republicans as a majority in one chamber and Democrats in the other. Along the path of these 3 election cycles, there will be surprises. There will be campaign finance reports to track, and there will be new voters looking for the most basic information mixed with veteran politicos ever in search of what is a new twist or turn. In between those two are those continually asking why this process matters once the campaigning ends and governing begins. Our obligation in our coverage and in this new podcast is to all of the above. So bottom line, no weekly schedule or certain day to look for this podcast. It's part of our daily coverage, as we are able to set up the interviews that matter and get them recorded for you to read about and hear in their entirety. If you read us daily and get our alerts on Facebook and other social media, you will know when they are posted. We will also give you a heads up on Twitter. That's @BDreesDM. Or you can subscribe to the podcast and get notice of them that way. I'm Bill Dries, and that is On the Record.
In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.